Alright, so a few of you have asked how I play the Maple Leaf Rag and how long it would take, and I decided to make a video about how to play the Maple Leaf Rag and how to play it with authenticity like Scott Joplin. And just so you know, this is the only type of video, at least for me, that I've seen like this on the internet, because I have looked up how to do Maple Leaf Rag improvisations before, and it was an unfruitful search. So, you know, it's compiled of things I've observed from Scott Joplin playing, and from like the old piano rolls, and also from what I personally feel sound good. Yeah. Anyway, enjoy. Alright, so the first thing you're gonna need, obviously, is sorry for my shaky hand, but a Maple Leaf Rag sheet music or in a book. I know that they do sell complete work of Scott Joplin books somewhere, and you can see I got this one for free online. You can do it. I think it's in the public domain now because, this was written in 1899. So yeah, that is your first step. So this part of the video, we're only going to be talking about the first section and counting, the way this counting works, and my improvisations. So the first thing you'll notice about this piece, or at least that you should notice, is that it's in the key of A flat. So it has A flat, B flat, D flat, and E flat. And yeah, it's a very typical ragtime key signature. As well as its counting, it is 2/4. I'll explain what that means in a little bit, and yeah. Another thing I am going to say is that this piece is probably going to be challenging to those who can't sight read very well or tell notes extremely well, because this piece has a lot of notes, so just keep an eye out for those. So now for the counting. As a typical rule of thumb, if you look at how these line up vertically, it usually does a pretty good job of explaining how these count. So if you notice that this, the A comes in between the A flat octave and that chord right there, and that is how it is. But normally you would need to count, but the counting would be pretty dang hard on this piece. And yeah, so that's just a good rule of thumb. Learn how to count all these rests, because these will be important, especially if you want to keep going on with piano. Also, another general rule of thumb for when you're playing Scott Joplin is if you see a note that's not a chord like this, or like that, or like that, it's probably an octave, okay? Because Scott Joplin really likes octaves, and apparently he had huge hands, so yeah. So, if you know how to read notes, this is pretty clearly an E flat octave, and then an A flat octave. And they are in the same counting since they are both eighth notes. So it would just sound like this if you're playing it slow. And that's a good start. Sure, you have the basic beginning. One thing I'd like to add on to what I just said is that when I said if you see anything that's not a chord, it's usually an octave, I only meant that for the left hand, okay? Don't take my word for that on the right hand. It's not going to be like that all the time. So now that you know that this is an E and an A, you're going to need to play this octave, this chord, which is this. So it's not C sharp, C natural, A flat, and E flat. And you can also see that the E on the bottom lines up with the E right there, A lines up with A right there in the chord, and then the C is pretty recognizable as the first one with the line through it that is above the rest of the lines. So, and those are also all in eighth notes. So you have, alright, there you go. So the next chords is an A natural, so it's this, and then a B flat, and then the chord is, which is E flat, starting from the bottom is E flat, G, and D flat. So it's not quite an octave in your right hand with a G in between. And then it goes back after you've done that to playing the original strand. So now, in the left hand, you have the basic start of the first line of the maple leaf rag. So... Alright, so this part's going to be a little shaky since I'm holding this with my left hand, and I'm usually very tired, and I don't have any fancy recording equipment to hold the camera still. So this is just my sheet music in front of my piano, but... yeah, so now you'll see that the right hand that we're gonna do. Now notice it comes in between the E and the the A and the new chord. I didn't play that whole chord, it's just two of the notes. But you see how the first A right here comes in between those two? And that is something Scott Joplin is very notorious for, the beat or syncopations off the beat. So what you need to do is, you see how that next note is E. Now you have to go, okay, so it's A, E octave, A, C, E octave. Alright, so this next part basically starts with a G to add basically the flat of it. So it's still an E octave, except you're playing, instead of A flat and E natural, or A flat and C natural, you're playing G natural and B. So I have to stand the camera up for this part, so you won't be able to see the music. But keep in mind what I just said, and I'm going to help basically explain the counting of this a little bit, since I know that people struggle with Scott Joplin counting. So you have your first E flat in your left hand, okay? And if you want to put it in the right hand, you can, but remember, it doesn't need to be fast at first. You work your speed up. What you need to do is you need to learn how to play it slowly before you can learn how to play it quickly. So, alright, and that's the first, I guess, technically three measures of the maple leaf rag. Now, it repeats that again, so I guess that's the first line. So you play that twice, so... and then here's your A flat and E's coming in between those chords in your left hand. And it's the same counting for the things in your left hand between the A natural and the B flat and then the chord. So now you know how to play the first line of the maple leaf rag. So you might notice about the next couple of lines after we've done the first couple it has the same 16th rest right there as up there. So it is the same amount of time between the start of this and when you start playing as the start of this measure when you start playing that. Now this part is in an F flat, which means it's an E natural because the key signature won't let you have an E natural because you'd be going against key signature and all that. So what you're going to say, or what it's saying to do is E flat. Alright, so that's a quarter note, and it gets, there's two quarter notes per measure, so, and then that is I guess, half note, two half notes. So what you do is just E flat, and you note that you only play that one for half of that. So you only play one of these at the second time around in your left hand. I'm switching back over to my left hand recording. So anyway, this next part is sometimes confusing, so don't pay attention to what I just did. I think that was wrong, but yeah. So what that is an A and C flat, and it's the same deal with the C flat and the F flat. It's just the natural of the thing beneath it, since it doesn't have a black key to support a C flat. Otherwise it would just be all, like, it wouldn't have groups in 2s and 3s, and a lot of things wouldn't make sense. So it's A flat, C, A flat, C, and then E natural. And then these left-hand octaves, so the low E that I'm about to play is going to represent playing the low E in your left hand, and the high E is going to sound like the octaves in your right hand. So it'll basically go right there between your left hand and your right hand. Alright, camera turned around once again, and yeah, now we're going to play this part. I might add that before you play that line, I forgot to show there's a part where you basically do the same thing where I just described you going like, you do that for a quarter note, and if you have your own sheet music, this will help you out loads, so please, I beg you, get your own sheet music. I'll have a website linked in the description where you can just download it for free. So it goes. Alright, so once again, slowly. Alright, so now all the way from the beginning, it will sound like this, which you've now learned the first 1.5 lines of the Maple Leaf Rag. So you might be thinking, how the heck am I supposed to play this? It looks crazy, or something like that. And this isn't that crazy yet, I mean, compared to some other sections, but it looks weird. And the reason is the way they have it divided up in the music. So yeah, that note right there is a low A flat. And that's the only note that you need to play with your left hand, all the way up those 4 octaves. So each time you move on to the next A flat up. And on the keyboard it looks like this. Now recording with my left hand. Now what you do with the right hand is a little bit more complex, but you'll get the hang of it after a while. It's not that hard once you get the hang of it. I mean, everyone says that, but it really is. And once you learn how to get the right hand movement, which I recommend just crossing your index finger over, then playing the next note with your thumb, and then the high note with your pinky. So what that note is also an A flat, and then you see the C right here is the C natural, C flat, which is just B natural. So A flat, B natural, and then the next A octave. So it's pretty easy. What it'll sound like and look like is like this. By the way, I apologize for not catching all of that. I don't think I did. It's just hard to watch. It's hard to play the piano while you're watching a slightly delayed version of it on my phone. So yeah. Alright, turning the camera back around. Basically, altogether, it's good to memorize where that low A is, so you can play it pretty consistently, because there isn't too much of a rest in between going like this. There's not too much of a rest in between that and then starting to go up for your next string of chords. So yeah, this is what it'll sound like. Alright, I played one of the first octaves of the next part, which you'll see aren't actually that terrible, next section. So, just a good thing to remember, just please, 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 don't try to play the things in your right hand, the A flat, B natural, and then the next A octave, or A flat octave, I'm sorry. Don't try to play them like this, okay? It's just a pain, and it's way harder. It's much easier, if you have big enough hands anyway, to just play the A like this, and then cross over your thumb, like that. and believe me, it's a lot easier. Also, one more thing to note, your left hand starts at this low A, and your right hand starts at the A directly above it. So basically, your left hand is moving to replace the A that your right hand just played. So once again, okay, so that's the first A in my right hand, and notice. Alright. And then the next note in my left hand, which happens to be of my right hand. And that might sound confusing, but if you have the sheet music, it will make a lot more sense. And now we are on to a seemingly hard part. So I'm just gonna do the first. I'm gonna just do this whole strand right here because it's much easier if you learn it like that. And the reason is because you play it twice exactly the same way except for the ending. And I think it actually probably is the same ending except like for the transitions into the next section. So you notice these chords in your left hand are treble clef, which means you read them the same way as this one up here. And you see how these ones are bass clef, and then it switches to treble clef at the end of this line, which means you really need to know your treble clef. So read it like it's the top line, you know? So that chord is D flat, F, A flat, and B natural. So, all right. And usually you have to play that 4 times evenly. Then the next one is C. Starting from the top is C, A flat, and E flat. So that'll go. So right now you have. Now these, you see once again the C flat, which is just B natural, and then the also F flat in the same thing. So, and then also the regular A flat. So that would be the chord, and then you move back to regular C, so that chord that you were just playing a few seconds ago, and you play it 3 times because this one switches, and then this is still your E, but you have a G natural and a D flat, and then your C and your A flat. So all together, it sounds like this. And then when you're done and playing it quick, like, I'm not gonna say that I want you to play this fast because in very many Scott Joplin occasions and in songs he said, don't play ragtime fast. But we can't really tell what speed he played them at from the piano rolls because, you know, the technology they had back then, it's really hard to tell. So once you're done playing it, this is the speed I normally play it at. Alright, we are moving back to my left hand, and this time I had the ingenious idea of stabilizing it on my piano. So yeah, it shouldn't be as shaky. So now, you see these, I'm going to zoom in a little, are A-flat octaves in your right hand. And once again, easy to remember because after you've done doing these things going up, you're going to end. And it's literally, after you've gone like that last group of 3 right there, your hand is basically already stretched to this exact octave. So don't even move your pinky, just reach your thumb down to that A flat and play. And this is where the counting comes in. Basically, the way this counting works is when you play it completely, it'll sound like. And the reason for that is this is just regular, or sorry, that's E. And then this is going to last for longer because of the nature of that note. And then this, so basically we're at the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. And the reason we hold the 5th for so long instead of short is because it is tied. So I'm not the best, like, don't judge me for me not knowing the names of these notes. Like, I remember in elementary school going over like ta-ti-ta stuff, but I honestly don't remember any of that. But the reason is I I just didn't need it when I learned this song, I guess, because you can still look at the vertical alignment of these notes and it still helps you out, which is the reason they're put that way, and it just really helps. Because you notice these two are even, and they also match up with that, and they line up vertically. But these two aren't exactly even, but they don't match up the way they should if they were played evenly. So now after you're done playing those first 5 octave notes, this is where it starts getting confusing. You want to have your index finger right on E flat, and I'm going to show you that attemptedly with my left hand. It should look like this. So it's not too difficult to play that little part. Once you see, it's just that note right there after the octaves is E flat, and then F, then C, then so it goes E flat, F, C, E flat, F. And you play an A with your F once you finish in that little bit. So you go. Alright, so for the next part, you basically need to put your index finger on the A flat right beneath that. And once again, I will say it, you need the sheet music. Don't even try to do this without the sheet music. I don't understand how people learn things from Sipted Sia videos. But honestly, anyway, just put your index finger on the A flat, middle finger on B flat, your right ring finger on the C, or I guess B in this case, since you see, so after you've done playing this little third right here, which I guess I forgot to mention is A flat, and your thumb should be on E natural, since you play that twice in this part, you go, alright, and since this, after the tie is all even, you go like this. Alright, and that's to the end of that first 4 notes in that measure. I can't mention how important this section is. It's just something about it, it's just, you know, it's so Scott Joplin-y, you know? That's not really a word, but I don't care, I'm gonna use it. Yeah, so anyway, this strain, it goes, alright, and you have that already. Now, once you go to play this, it moves to the C natural, which you notice is held for longer, and then you play the A. So, E natural, starting from the beginning right here, is E natural and A, B, then both of those weird flats, which is B natural and E natural in reality, then A, B, flat, both of those are flat, then C natural and E flat, and then A. And then we may as well do this part in this as well. And then it's just A. It's basically the same thing that you just played, so you just went. And then now where you are at is, right? Okay, so the reason that is just it's the same notes. Alright? And once again, you can tell that from the vertical alignment. I'm not terribly good at counting, and I probably shouldn't be in my jazz band if I can't count. But, you know, there you go. And that is the end of the right hand, and this is honestly killing my left hand, so holding the camera. Anyway, there you go. Alright, so I know that this section is going to be a little bit of a stretch to learn, and it's just because it's more difficult than the first part of it, and I don't know. I know the whole song by heart, which is why when I played it, you don't see any paper. And to me, it's almost easier to play it by heart than by paper. But yeah. Anyway, what it'll sound like is this. All right. And that might seem intimidating. Just remember, play it slowly at first before you try to play it quickly. And also, this is where I'm going to add my first thing of improvisation in. I'm not going to show the sheet music. I don't have sheet music for it. This is all in my brain. So, you know when you go down to go like this. Right, you know that little section? I like to start it. You know how you put your pinky on the lowest octave in your left hand? I'll put my thumb on the and in my left thumb and share it with my right index finger to play this A versus that A, and it'll do the same thing as this going up, except going down, so with my left hand. And sort of play it fast, so it's not, so it sounds more like it. Alright, and then you go up. And then this is where I like to add my next bit of improvisation. I like to roll the chord from the bottom in your left hand right here when you start playing the A octaves. So that's what it would sound like normal, and then this is what it sounds like when you just roll it. So once again, with my improvisations, it sounds like this. And yeah, I just think that adds something to it. And also, I might suggest is you want to go from being very quiet here to sort of a medium loud right here, as outlined in the sheet music. So, and then you want to get a little bit louder. Alright, and you can honestly play this whatever way you want. It's not going to offend me or anyone. If you don't listen to me, I don't care. It's, this is just to help people who want to hear it. I thought I would just show that after this line, it's the exact same thing except an octave lower. So you don't really need to pay attention to any of these notes right here, because it's literally this whole, like... And don't count on my timing right there, it wasn't perfect, okay? But then you just move your hand down. And there you go, you've learned the first section of the Maple Leaf Rag. And altogether, the first section of the Maple Leaf Rag sounds like this. And there you go. Now, keep in mind there is a repeat, so you normally have to play that twice, but also, I guess I will show you one thing in the next video that I all of a sudden realized I need to make a point about, so I'll be right back. Now, you might be thinking, but why should I play it the exact same way the second time if that isn't played within the constraints of the repeat? And the answer is that. Basically, it goes like that and substitute for that. Basically, this right there, within the repeat, makes it so that it's not necessary to play that again, even though you are playing the same thing. And I just thought I'd clear that up. So now, I assume you've studied this a little bit and tried to play it yourself a little bit. And I know I'm just recording this with my phone out of my busy schedule because, it's crunch time, it's December, and finals are around the corner, and I'm going to die. Not literally, don't take that literally, but now to the improvisational part. Sorry, that was probably not even a word anyway, but how you play it, it's sort of a feel, so you might have to get used to it, but there are some things that you can do to help and give it class. So one of the things I mentioned was rolling this downward, and another thing is rolling your left hand upward like this when you're playing that. But also, really dig into the chords when you're going like this. So you want to start a little bit quiet after you've just crescendoed up from playing this. Right? You want to start out quiet, at least for me, okay? Don't, these aren't instructions for everybody. But yeah, just go like this. You can roll this chord again on the bottom if you want. And there you go. I do hope you guys enjoyed. I really did my best. I know I'm not professional, so don't seek professional help from me. I'm just doing this to help out a couple of friends. But I imagine, since I've never seen something like this on the internet, that it might actually gain some traction. I'm not sure, but yeah. If you did enjoy, hit that like button, because apparently that's a button and people tell you that all the time. Yeah, I'll see you next time for the next section of the Maple Leaf Rag.